Good morning out there, traders. It is March 5th, 2024, and welcome to the Apteros DMI or Daily Market Insight. Let's get into our recap and then we'll update our session plan and levels for today. So, taking a look at the analysis from yesterday, we had a neutral zone to start off the DMI at around 5140. And the neutral zone was important to us because we were essentially looking at a possible continuation play up into our target area, with scenario one being bullish from this line in the sand, with scenario one being, up above that, or a possible breakdown of that neutral area heading back into our line in the sand zone. And the breakdown really was against the overall confluence and bias that we were seeing in the context, so it wasn't the stronger of the two ideas. Holding above the neutral zone was definitely more of the play that we were looking for, and the pullback scenario was really just a situation for us to sit on our hands and wait and see how we get down into this line in the sand, or if we get down in this line in the sand in the session. So that was kind of what I was looking at with the DMI around this neutral zone. And then, of course, down at the line in the sand, the idea with scenario one is that it holds up. If it broke down, we'd see further downside back into some old value areas. So that was the general layout, the quick version of what we were talking about yesterday. Let's see how it played out here in the recap. So we did accept to the downside here heading into the open, and it looked like the pullback scenario was going to play out, and it just never manifests itself, right? It gets a couple of opportunities from the bears to kind of really push and hold, doesn't get anywhere. Then we see a decent sign from the bulls that they're kind of engaging in the market here, a decent, shift for a turn. Then it gets up above our neutral area, and then this really was the spot to get involved with scenario one from the neutral zone, heading into pretty much about midday there, about 1 o'clock Eastern in that area. And then, of course, you get the release into the target area, and that was it for scenario one. So that was the main idea there for the session out of this neutral area for scenario one. After that, there's really nothing for us to do, as it, capitulated at our target zone, headed all the way back into the neutral area, and just sold off heading down into the line in the sand. So that's really the quick recap there for us from the overall landscape of the DMI from yesterday. Taking a look at our landscape today, it's a little bit more tricky because we have some dissonance in this market. Basically, the zones between these two lines in the sand is a dissonant area. So in other words, we don't really have a clear edge or bias. However, based on our ranking and distilling process that we use within the NADRO framework, the bearish side has a little bit more edge to it. Not much. It would be incremental, very little in that area. So we have a slightly more bearish leaning right now in this dissonance zone, but we cannot act in any way, shape, or form around that idea until we start to see this dissonance clear up. So how does the dissonance clear up? Well, the best way the dissonance clears up is if we hold below this bullish area, right? So if the bullish area breaks down, we hold below it, we start to see neutral references as targets in further downside. The ultimate downside target for us, if this bull zone breaks, is down into here, into this neutral zone. So that would be kind of the last target area for us if the bull zone breaks. So that would be the bearish idea, continuing to the downside and breaking through this bullish zone. If the bullish zone does not break down, right, then we start seeing the rotation back up. This bearish line in the sand is extremely important to us. Basically, the bulls can't go any higher without breaking through this, and the bears can't go any lower without breaking through this, right? So that creates dissonance for us overall in our landscape. If the bulls do hold down here in this bullish area, they have to get through a condition that we have in one of our time frames to the downside. And if they do that, then it becomes a bullish opportunity up into this neutral reference. So the best way kind of to describe this and lay it out with scenarios is in this zone here in the dissonance, we don't really have a clear edge, clear cut, defined edge. If we break down, this is the overall expectation. If we break up, this is the overall expectation. And there is a reference just higher to the upside as well that we can get up into here for a stretch target. So we'll be clearing out the highs and heading up into new highs up into that neutral reference up there. So that is the general layout of the DMI for today. In terms of scenarios, there's really no way to kind of number them besides just saying, okay, well, in the dissonant zone, that's kind of a no real clear option for us. Scenario one would be a breakdown of the bull zone. Scenario two would be a break up of the bear zone, and that would be kind of what we're monitoring for the session today. So as we come in here to test this overall zone, we have to be cognizant of the pullbacks and heading back up into our bearish references. And then if those bearish references start to hold, that's at least a good sign that our little bit of a bearish edge is still in play. So I guess one way to handle this is if we do end up seeing this hold and it comes back up to test our line in the sand and that holds, then you can get on board with shorts down into this bull zone again, right? So you can actually play this leg of it down into the bullish line again. However, based on where we're at sitting right now, if this bullish zone holds, right, you could kind of scalp your way bullish, possibly heading back up into this bearish area. So there is, in the dissonance, we don't have a clear, let's just say, bias that we really want to follow. So you keep things short term, you keep references in check, and the areas between the two are very blurred in terms of bias and confluence and all the stuff that we tend to use as leading elements to our context. So what we're looking for is really the leaving behind of the dissonance. We want to get outside of it, and we want to start seeing trade ideas that are playing out and changing during today's session. All right, so that's the DMI and the overall look of what's happening right now in the ES. It's not in a very clear spot for us in terms of context, but we do have solid lines in the sand and solid trade ideas. It's just a matter of the fact that there's two of them, right? So they're both good ideas, and one of them is going to eventually win, right? That's the way it always works. One of them is eventually going to win. We just have to wait and see how that plays out. So mind your process today, trade well, and make sure that you focus on your risk control.